You gave them something rare. Not flowers, not words, something far harder to find. You gave them a person who actually stayed, who showed up on the quiet days, not just the celebrations, who remembered the small things, the things they mentioned once and forgot they ever said. You gave them consistency in a world full of people who disappear when things get heavy, and they treated it like it would always be there. Like you were a light they could leave on and come back to whenever they wanted. So you kept giving. You kept showing up. You kept turning your own exhaustion into effort, because somewhere deep inside, you believed that love meant trying harder when someone pulls away. But there is something they never told you about that kind of loving. It has a limit, not because you ran out of care, but because one day, quietly, without a speech, without a goodbye, something inside you finally put itself down. And the moment you did, everything began. Stay with me. Because what happens next is the part that will change how you see all of it. There was no explosion, no final door slamming shut, no moment you could point to and say, there. That's when it ended. It was softer than that. It was a Tuesday or a Sunday or some ordinary afternoon when you looked at your phone and realized you no longer wanted to reach out. Not out of anger, out of exhaustion. You had spent so long translating your silence into patience, your distance into maturity, your hurt into understanding, that one day there was nothing left to translate. So you stopped. You stopped being the first to speak. You stopped softening your edges to fit into the space they made for you. You stopped being the one who cared more, tried harder, held on longer. And here's the thing nobody prepares you for. It didn't feel like strength. Not at first. It felt like loss. It felt like walking out of a house you had spent years making warm, knowing the door would close behind you, but something was already happening on the other side of that door. Something they couldn't feel yet. Something that was only just beginning to move. At first, nothing changed for them. The days moved, the routines continued. Life had the same shape it always had, but then, slowly, the way winter arrives. Not all at once, but in the cooling of things, the gaps began to appear. A moment where something made them laugh, and they reached for their phone to tell you, and stopped. A hard night where they needed someone who actually listens, and realized the name that came to mind was no longer available the same way. A song, a street, a smell that belonged to a version of life that still had you in it. And suddenly your absence was not background noise anymore. It was the loudest thing in the room. They started noticing what they had never noticed while you were there. How much space you used to fill. How much warmth you carried into ordinary moments. How different the room felt when the person who truly paid attention was no longer paying it. They hadn't said it yet. They hadn't admitted it even to themselves, but the knowing was spraying through them like water through stone. Quiet, inevitable, and completely impossible to stop. And then one night, not a night they planned for, not a night that looked any different from the outside, it broke open. Not slowly, all at once. The way a sky breaks open after a long drought. Sudden, total, overwhelming. Maybe they were sitting in a room that used to feel full. Maybe they reached for something and found only the shape of where it used to be. Maybe it was just a silence. That specific silence that only exists where a person once was. And for the first time, they didn't look away from it. They sat inside it, and everything they had been postponing, every moment they had minimized, every signal they had ignored, every time you reached out and they reached back with half of themselves, it all arrived at once, like letters that had been lost in the mail for months, showing up at the door on the same evening. They remembered the way you loved them, not the grand moments, the small ones, the way you noticed when something was wrong before they said a word, the way you stayed, not because it was easy, but because to you, they were worth staying for, and those memories didn't feel ordinary anymore. They felt like something a person spends a lifetime looking for. If something in these words is touching a place you recognize, take a second right now to like this video, because what's coming next is the truth most people never get to hear, and you deserve to hear all of it. Regret, doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't always come with tears or confessions or dramatic realizations in the rain. Sometimes it looks like restlessness, like waking at 3 a.m. and not knowing why, but feeling the absence of something you can't name, like typing a message and deleting it before it sends, like laughing at something and then feeling the laugh go hollow because the one person who would have laughed the same way is no longer there to share it with. That is what was living inside them now. Not clean sadness, not simple longing, but the specific, aching weight of understanding too late, of seeing the full picture only after you stepped out of the frame. They began to understand something that cannot be untaught once it arrives. You were not just someone who was there. You were someone who chose, every single day, to be there. And the difference between those two things is everything. Because anyone can be present, but choosing to stay, choosing to give, choosing to see someone fully and love what you see. That is not something that comes back around easily, and they knew it. They felt it in the way you can only feel something after it is already gone. Here is where it gets complicated, and where most stories leave out the hardest part. Understanding that you were wrong and having the courage to say so are not the same thing. They rehearsed it in the quiet hours, in the spaces between sleep and waking. They had the conversation 100 times. They found the words. They imagined your face. They imagined what it would feel like to finally say, I see it now. I see what I had. I see what I did with it. But every time they got close, something stopped them. Not indifference. Fear. The fear that the window had closed, that you had moved on into a version of your life that no longer had room for their apology, that reaching out would only confirm what they already suspected, that some things, once let go, do not wait to be picked back up. So they carried it instead, the way people carry the things they cannot figure out how to put down. And here is what that silence was really saying. The truth underneath the quiet. They were not silent because you didn't matter. They were silent because you mattered so much that facing what they had lost felt like more than they knew how to hold. And while all of that was unfolding in their world, while the regret was settling, while the silence was speaking, while the full weight of your absence was finally landing on them, something else was happening in yours. You were healing, not in a straight line, not without the nights where you questioned everything, replayed everything, wondered if you had somehow imagined the whole thing, but underneath all of that, in the place beneath the noise, you were becoming clearer about what you will accept, becoming softer in the places that deserve softness, and stronger in the places that needed protecting, becoming a person who no longer needed their recognition to feel whole. Because here is what that kind of pain teaches. When you are brave enough to walk through it instead of around it, you learn the difference between love that builds you and attachment that quietly takes you apart. You learn that your presence is not something to be offered where it is not honored. You learn that walking away from what diminishes you is not weakness. It is the most loving thing you can do for yourself. And that version of you, the one emerging from all of that version is something they never got to meet, and they will spend a long time wondering about them. So here is where we arrive, not at an ending, but at the truth that holds everything else. The truth is not that they realized your value too late. The truth is that you realized it first. You walked away not because you stopped caring, but because you finally cared enough about yourself to stop shrinking. Whatever they are carrying now, the regret, the replaying, the quiet ache of knowing, that is not yours to fix. It was never yours to fix. Your only job was always this, to know your own worth, even in the moments when the people around you forgot to reflect it back. And you did. That, maybe not perfectly, maybe not without pain, but you did it. You stayed soft when you could have gone hard. You kept loving when you could have closed. And now you are standing on the other side of something that was trying to make you smaller. And you are not smaller. You are more certain, more grounded, more you. And if nobody has said this to you yet, let me say it now. You were never too much. You were always exactly enough. The world just hadn't caught up to you yet. Share this with someone who needs to hear that tonight. Because sometimes the most powerful thing one person can do for another is remind them, your love was never the problem. It was always the gift.